Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place where we plunge into powerful concepts and try to surface the insights that genuinely reshape how we think.
That's the goal.
And today, we're taking a deep dive into a really fascinating book, Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money.
A modern classic already, I'd say.
It really is.
Yeah.
And look, this isn't going to be about stock picks or, complicated financial models.
No, definitely not.
Our mission here is to unpack these surprising nuggets about how our behavior, our emotions, our personal histories, these often unconscious biases, how they're way more influential than just raw intelligence or data when it comes to, well, financial success and even happiness.
Right, the human element.
Exactly. The core idea, and it's a game changer, is that true financial wisdom isn't just about spreadsheets. It's about understanding the complex, sometimes irrational human operating system, behind the money. Get ready to look at money through maybe a very different lens.
It absolutely reorients the conversation, doesn't it? Housel just masterfully shifts the focus from the purely quantitative, the numbers, to the intensely human. And I think that's why it resonates so widely, because he basically argues the spreadsheet, yeah, it's important, but it only tells a tiny fraction of the real story.
Okay, so let's dig into that human element right away.
Yeah.
Housel kicks off with this really brilliant empathetic concept. No one's crazy.
Yeah.
He suggests that everyone's financial decisions, no matter how odd they might seem to us, actually make perfect sense within the context of their unique experiences, their upbringing, the economic world they grew up in.
Totally. Like someone who lived through the Great Depression.
Right.
Their view on risk and saving is going to be fundamentally different from someone who only saw boom times,
Exactly.
And what's really profound there, I think, is the call for empathy in finance. It's not just about acknowledging different backgrounds. It's a challenge to our own sense of rationality.
That's interesting. How so?
Well, it forces us to ask, if our decisions are just products of our own biases and hidden histories, how can we really judge someone else? Or even give advice without first understanding their world. It kind of democratizes financial behavior, takes away the judgment.
That makes a lot of sense. And building on that, he gets into something often overlooked: luck and risk.
Yeah.
Huge factors. He argues powerfully that, financial success isn't always just skill or hard work, and failure isn't always just mistakes.
Yeah.
The example he uses is pretty stark.
Bill Gates.
Yeah, Bill Gates getting access to that super rare high school computer back in the 60s, just incredible luck. And then juxtaposing that with his friend Ken Evans, equally talented.
But who tragically died young.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same potential, wildly different outcomes because of, well, luck and risk.
And the bigger point there is humility, isn't it? It really urges us to see how much random chance, good and bad, affects where we end up financially. It reminds you that, yes, effort matters, strategy matters, but you don't control everything. Recognizing luck makes you maybe a bit more humble when you succeed.
And maybe more compassionate when others struggle.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It moves us beyond thinking it's all just merit.
And that idea of personal context, it leads right into another lesson: you and me. The book really hammers home that financial decisions are deeply, deeply individual. Your definition of wealth or security or even just a good life. Okay, so understanding our own psychology is key. That leads us straight into how we think about wealth itself and maybe some traps we fall into, especially when we start looking around at others. Let's get into Housel's chapter, Never Enough.
Oh, that's a big one.
It really is this dangerous sort of never-ending trap of comparing yourself financially to other people. It's a chase, right? And it can lead to really destructive decisions because the goalposts just keep shifting.
They always do.
He stresses how vital it is to figure out when enough is actually enough for you.
And it's amazing how deep that comparison instinct runs. We're social animals, it's natural to look sideways. But Housel argues pretty forcefully that constant upward comparison is just a direct route to unhappiness.
Yeah.
It pushes people to take risks they shouldn't or make choices that don't actually serve their own well-being just to, keep up.
Keep up with the Joneses, as they say.
Right. It's a reminder that happiness in finance often has to come from inside, not from what other people think.
And speaking of trying to impress people, he has this brilliant little concept: the man in the car paradox.
I love this one.
That's great, isn't it? People buy the fancy car, the designer stuff, often specifically to impress others, to signal, hey, I've made it.
Yeah, look at me.
But the irony House points out is, when you see that fancy car, you admire the car. You rarely think, wow, what an amazing person driving it.
You don't even notice the driver half the time.
Exactly. Status symbols almost never bring real respect. They mostly just show you want respect. And often you're the only one who really cares that much about them.
The wider point there, I think, is about fundamentally misunderstanding what actually earns respect. It's usually character, integrity, how you treat people.
Not the logo on your shirt.
Right, not the visible stuff. Which connects perfectly to his next big insight about wealth itself.
Which is, wealth is what you don't see. Such a powerful idea. Housel argues that real wealth is hidden. It's the savings, the investments, the money you haven't spent.
The unspent potential.
Right. And the flip side is true, too. Loads of people go broke trying to look rich. They drain their actual resources on things you can see, often racking up debt instead of building assets.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? In a world so driven by Instagram feeds and visible consumption,
Totally.
how do we shift our mindset? How do we learn to value the invisible stuff? Financial security, peace of mind, future choices over the quick hit of showing off. It's a call to redefine rich as internal security, not external display.
Okay, so we've hit the human element, the comparison traps. Let's pivot to the practical side. What does Housel tell us about actually building lasting wealth and finding that real financial freedom? It starts with something maybe counterintuitive, confounding compounding.
Ah, yes, the eighth wonder of the world, supposedly.
Right. He really highlights how massively we underestimate the power of compound interest over long periods. Warren Buffett's fortune, for instance.
That's legendary.
It is, but Housel argues it's less about pure genius picking stocks and more about the incredible time he's been investing. Consistently, since he was like 10 years old.
It's mind-boggling.
It's the consistency over decades, not just moments of brilliance, that built that wealth.
Now, what strikes me there is how simple yet profound that is. It's not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being unbelievably consistent, patient, and just letting time do its exponential work. For most of us, that translates directly into things like consistent, automated investing. Small amounts, regularly, over decades.
Can become huge.
Way more impactful than trying to time the market or find the next big thing.
And then Housel talks about the ultimate goal. Lesson 7, freedom.
This might be my favorite chapter.
It's so powerful. He makes this compelling case that the ultimate form of wealth isn't the bigger house or the faster car. It's control over your own time.
Absolutely.
Being able to wake up and say, I can do what I want today with who I want for as long as I want, that, he says, is fundamentally more valuable than any luxury good. It's the highest dividend money pays.
And the bigger implication there is it completely redefines financial success, doesn't it? It shifts the goalposts away from just accumulating stuff
Right.
and towards personal autonomy, well-being, which really makes you ask yourself, what's your why for building wealth? Are you chasing objects, or are you chasing the freedom to design your own life?
The freedom to say no sometimes.
Exactly. To say no to things you don't want to do, yes to what actually matters to you. That's powerful.
That freedom idea leads naturally into the next point. Simply save money.
Seems basic, but it's crucial.
It does, but Housel frames it differently.
Yeah.
Saving isn't just for specific big goals like a house deposit or retirement, though it helps there too. Saving fundamentally provides flexibility, options, and just a deep sense of peace of mind.
A buffer.
A buffer, exactly. He suggests that having a strong, consistent saving habit is ultimately more valuable, more impactful than just chasing a higher income.
And that pushes back against the common idea that you need a massive salary to be financially okay. What he's stressing is the behavior. Consistently saving whatever your income level allows.
That's key.
That's what creates the resilience, the ability to handle unexpected bumps or seize opportunities when they arise. It's the habit itself.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Thinking about the future, it's always uncertain, right? Housel offers some really vital insights here. He starts by drawing a distinction between getting wealthy versus staying wealthy.
Very different skills.
Totally different mindsets, he says. Getting rich often takes risk, optimism, maybe some boldness, but staying rich, that requires almost the opposite. Frugality, humility, even a healthy dose of fear about losing it all.
It's like playing offense versus playing defense.
Good analogy. They're two distinct games.
And it highlights how you need different psychological muscles at different stages. It challenges the idea that one mindset fits your whole financial life. The things that got you rich might not be the things that keep you rich.
You have to adapt.
It's a dynamic process, yeah. Adapting, maybe shedding old habits, adopting new ones as things change.
And this connects directly to his ideas on room for error.
Yeah.
Because the future is uncertain.
Always surprising.
Always surprising. History doesn't just repeat, Housel insists it rhymes, maybe, but mostly it just throws curveballs. So don't rely too heavily on past data to predict exactly what's next.
You can't.
You can't.
Oh.
So you must leave a margin of safety in your financial plans. Assume things will go wrong sometimes. Build in buffers.
It's about building for robustness, not just optimization, isn't it?
Explain that.
Well, instead of trying to create the absolute perfect plan that squeezes out every last penny, assuming everything goes right, you build a plan that's strong enough to survive when things inevitably go wrong.
Like a financial seatbelt.
Exactly. You wear it even if you don't expect to crash. It builds resilience, not just efficiency. It allows you to stay in the game.
He also gives us a really crucial, maybe slightly uncomfortable reminder in You'll Change.
Oh yeah, future you is a stranger.
Pretty much. Your goals, your desires, they will fundamentally change over time. The person you are today, financially speaking, isn't who you'll be in 10 or 20 years.
Hopefully not.
Right. And because of that, he warns against locking yourself into super rigid, long-term financial commitments based only on who you are right now.
Which prompts a really practical question for your own planning. How much flexibility are you actually building in, enough to let future you make different choices?
Because rigidity can trap you.
It absolutely can. Trapped in a life designed by a past version of yourself, you need room to evolve.
And finally, a very pragmatic, almost philosophical point. Nothing's free.
No free lunch.
Basically. Every potential financial gain, every return you hope for, has a price. And that price isn't always obvious like a fee. It can be volatility, uncertainty, the gut-wrenching stress of watching markets fall.
The emotional cost.
Yes. The key, he says, is to recognize this price exists, be willing to pay it without feeling cheated or surprised, and understand it's just part of the deal for potential growth.
What's really insightful there is how it reframes risk. It's not something to be avoided at all costs. It's more like a necessary fee you pay for the chance of higher returns.
Like an admission ticket.
Yeah, exactly. It encourages a more mature view of investing. You accept that some discomfort, some uncertainty is often required for growth. If you try to avoid that fee entirely, you probably forego the potential reward too.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into the psychology of money. If we had to boil it down, what are the absolute core takeaways from Morgan Housel's work here?
Well, to really distill it, I think the book powerfully emphasizes that financial success hinges much more on our behavior, our habits, our mindset, than on raw intelligence or complex financial knowledge.
Behavior over brains, almost.
In many ways, yes. And
Yeah.
time, patience, consistency. Those are your greatest allies. They often outperform complex strategies in the long run. He makes it clear the most valuable asset isn't actually money, it's freedom. Control over your time, that's the ultimate goal. He really hammers home the need to avoid the comparison trap, stop looking sideways, and truly understand what enough means for your specific life.
Know thyself financially.
Exactly. And finally, that simplicity and humility in your approach often win out over complexity and arrogance. Keep it simple. Stay humble.
What a really fascinating deep dive. The psychology of money just fundamentally reorients your thinking, doesn't it? Away from just the spreadsheets.
Yeah, the cold numbers.
And towards the intricate, messy human mind behind all those financial decisions. It's like the emotional intelligence of money.
That's a great way to put it.
So if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, maybe take a moment to consider how these behavioral insights could shift your own approach to money. Are you focused on chasing the visible things? Or are you quietly building the invisible wealth?
Are you reacting to the daily noise or patiently playing the long game?
Good questions. And here's a final provocative thought for you to maybe mull over. Given that we know your goals and desires are bound to change throughout life.
Which they will.
And given that true wealth really means having control over your time, how might embracing radical flexibility right now actually be the most valuable investment you can make for that future self you haven't met yet? Something to ponder as you navigate your own financial journey.
A lot to think about there.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We look forward to our next exploration with you.